good friendly dogs is a good far end of the bell curve to be on.
All right. By that evening, as the village is winding down, sitting down to an evening meal,
Think
you're
it goes
given
without
word by
saying
one of
that-
the servants
Oh,
that Zack is stirring in his room.
Victor will share the information about the porthole and his thoughts that Zaquiel may have some sort of mermaid girlfriend.
Edmont will share the information between our family about the the encounter that we had in town today.
Victor's response is, "Oh, he's still alive, huh?"
But
My response is-
no, I will definitely go and see how he's holding up.
Okay?
Yeah, I'll go see Zachiel. Jeannie still has the question for like Edmont, like, were they talking about us? Or like just the village or just everybody? Like, is this
I can
like
tell
a...
you, but since we're our family's an Orthodox faith, and they're radical.
I knew it was a mistake to let him go.
Edmont,
Well,
I have bad news for you. Ekon is not Orthodox faith.
You know, you'd think if there's one person out there who would be invested in helping us and working together, it would be him. But no, he has to do this.
He thinks this is a punishment from air.
Yeah, and he thinks that the way to get out of that punishment is to kill us.
You're
It's fine,
greeted
we'll just direct
in
him.
Zack chambers by the sound of a clattering plate being knocked to the floor as Zack barks at one of his servants. The servant flees the room. Zack in the room, and you can tell he's extremely weak. And he's trying to push himself to his feet, off of his bed. Probably undergoing some vertigo. Sedgwick and Ray have not arrived yet. And he looks up and sees all of you as you come into the room.
Give him a hearty wave.
step over to him and say, for a man who's been through what you've been, I would probably not be on your feet for very quickly.
He must be getting ready for breakfast.
Is that your professional advice?
My professional advice is that you had a ghost in your butt.
I suppose I have you to thank for my speedy recovery.
You
Yeah.
have us to thank for waking up.
Seems that way, yes.
And as he's speaking, you tell that he's still getting acclimated, still very groggy and pushing away the coma, slurring his words, trying to find his tongue in his mouth now and again. So I don't remember ever asking your assistance for anything.
We like to poke our noses into other people's business.
It was Sedgwick and Ray's idea to bring us in on this.
And he tries to lift his head to meet your gaze, but you can tell his eyes are having difficulty focusing, as though he's seeing 4 of you for each one that enters the room. And he catches himself with his hand on the edge of his bed and aborts his most recent attempt to stand up.
Stay in bed.
And perhaps you can shed some light on what you've discovered.
We were hoping you could explain what happened.
When did you first fall ill?
How on earth could I possibly know that?
What's the last thing you recall before falling ill?
He shakes his head for a moment. I don't remember. I can...
Oh,
What's the last thing you do remember?
He shakes his head angrily. Eating breakfast, I suppose.
What day was that? Like,
It was several months ago. He doesn't
Months
seem to be
ago,
aware
yeah.
of how much time has passed.
and I'll tell him, you've been down for months. Apparently.
We found a shard of metal inside your body. Do you have an explanation for that?
He looks up at Evie. What do you mean a shard of metal?
Exactly what I said. A little piece of metal. It was lodged inside of you, and it was apparently the cause of whatever was afflicting you.
There was Jeannie will say there was a woman, a ghost, like
The metal also had a number of some sort of shadow creatures inside of it.
yeah, and they were in your blood, and we had to your blood was haunted.
Yeah, you have bats in your ass.
Like,
Cousin, you could put it a little more diplomatically than that.
no,
Just tell you what I saw.
No, I think that's a great way to put it, actually.
it's an accurate description of what happened.
I was in there. I saw it with my own eyes. There were bats.
Likewise, that's not the words I would have chosen.
What would you have said?
At this point, he kind of leans forward a little bit and clutches forward at his chest, looks down, pulls at his collar, pulls open. You can see his eyes widen as he sees the stitching and scarring up his chest. And he begins breathing very quickly and hyperventilating. Dear gods, what have you done to me?
We
Begins
saved your life.
babbling incoherently, and starts clawing at his nightshirt.
Calm down.
Brother.
Victor will yell for Cedric and Ray to see if they're close.
Okay. You call
Calm
down
down.
around the corner at one of the servants to find Cedric and Ray.
Jeannie's gonna try and calm him down. Like, since we've discussed, like she's like, look at me.
And he looks at you for a moment, but you can tell in the look on his face he doesn't trust you at all. And he holds out one of his arms. As I have no assurance it wasn't you that did this to me in the first place.
How would we have done it? We haven't seen you in months, years.
I mean, there's like 40 different magical ways you could have done it.
We didn't do this to you. Do you have other enemies?
Zack shakes his head and he tells you not so many as you do.
Did you
Did you find anything in the lake that you shouldn't have come across?
Edmont and Ekon had found hundreds and hundreds of things that had been dredged up from the lake.
Yep.
But Zackwiel is not forthcoming with any particular information. You're going to have to do something to calm him down or assure him that you're here to help him. He is borderline hysterical. I mean, the man just woke up. He's in an incredibly weakened state, and he's just discovered that he's been hacked open. And you guys are now telling him that things have been taken out of his body.
Victor will ask if he wants breakfast. Or what he wants for breakfast.
That's not helping Victor.
All right, can I do persuasion or something?
How are you going to persuade him?
Okay, I'm going to say, we came here to help you. There are other folks who summoned us to let us know what was happening with you.
Evie, make an insight check.
That's a 20.
Okay. Zackwiel is never going to believe that you just came here to help him because you were asked. Even if that's the truth. His mindset, the way his brain works, nobody would go out of their way to do something like this unless there was something in it for them.
Okay. Then I
So
will say,
what's in it for House Veritas?
perhaps I like the idea of having Zachiel Dantes owe me a favor.
At that, you see him start a little bit, and his breathing becomes a little more regular. And instead of clawing at the buttons on his shirt, he just places a hand across them, flattens out. Did you do this then? Did you poison me so that you can cure me and claim your favor?
Zackwiel, like Jeannie gets his attention. Like, we've been speaking for the last, what, 2 years?
Something like that.
Like, you should know me well enough that if I were going to kill you, I would come here and set fire to your tower.
At that, he leans back a little bit, and his eyes fall on Ekon for a moment. Says, but you wouldn't, because you know the stone doesn't burn.
He goes, there are explosions to be made. He goes,
Victor, at this, you can hear the Sedgwick and Ray beginning their journey up the stairs. But remember, they've got to... Sedgwick has to pull Ray's chair up one stair at a time, where he doesn't walk. And this is... the tower's not OSHA compliant.
Zack, if we wanted to kill you, there are 1,000 more effective ways. If we wanted to do some sort of trickery, there are 1,000 more effective ways. We heard you were in danger. We figured it was a good opportunity to extract a favor for you in the future, and so we came to help. Is it really that difficult to believe?
It looks like he believes that he's too useful to kill, yes.
Why would we put you into such a situation to endanger your life, ensuring we wouldn't be able to collect on said favor?
At this, you see he's still kind of worrying at the stitching beneath his shirt, which is still rather fresh. It was only done yesterday.
When we explain to you all the things we had to do to save your life, you will understand that there is no way that we did that ourselves.
So what do you explain that you had to do to save his life?
like,
I think I'll let Sedgwick and Ray explain that.
no, Jeannie would go into a very dry explanation of, like, the magical and whatever. Like, she'll explain it to him as best to her knowledge, like, of her understanding of the mechanics involved.
The remains of the broken down barrel are still in the room. They've been kind of shuffled over to the corner where you first saw it.
I will leave out the part where we were shoved up his butt. I would just say that we were inserted into his body.
How? When he asks how that happened, what do you tell him?
Victor tells him. Right
With a syringe.
Yeah, that's not a lie.
When Ekon,
We do it.
when Ekon says with a syringe, Jeannie's immediately like, that would have been a much better way to get in there. Wait, why did we have to
Oh, I
go
thought
in-
they did put us in syringe before they put us in him.
No, they just shoved us in there.
Oh,
Yeah, they just...
Tweezers.
Repository.
They delivered you with a suppository.
I thought. Okay.
Anyway, but, like, I'll tell him, like, there was a I'll explain the ghost woman, the lesions, and the the molten metal shard that was inside of him that they had to remove we removed with Sedgwick and Ray, which you will meet in a moment, removed with surgery because it was preventing you from waking up.
And Victor, as Jeannie is explaining this to Zack, you hear one clank at a time as Sedgwick is bringing Ray's chair upstairs.
Victor will go help him get the rest of the way.
And that you guys arrive just about the time Jeannie finishes the explanation, entering the room. Sedgwick looks very pleased indeed. Ah, glad to see you're up and around. Zack doesn't seem to agree that that's the state of affairs, but he gives a curt nod as introductions are made. Ray produces the small metal device that he had removed, that he had been keeping on his person, setting it out. As far as you can tell, it is completely inert. He hasn't found anything in his books to match it. It's no longer radiating any sort of magic.
It's a device, not just a shard of metal.
It's just a little, like, maybe like a tiny oblong shaped smooth piece of metal.
Okay. Does it look like it's a smooth piece of metal? Does it look like it was manufactured that way, or does it look like it broke off of something larger?
It looks like if you had melted a large sheet of metal and one of the drips hit the floor and then re-solidified. This could just be one of the many shapes such a spark would take.
Is there any way, can I like Jeannie, I don't think has had a chance to identify to look at it, but she's going to ask to see if she can she identify the metal that it's made out of, or try to.
Yeah. It looks like a scrap of iron. Like if you were to take this little scrap, it's not sharp to the touch. It's nice and smooth. If you were to swallow this, you would expect to pass it in a couple of days.
I could ask Air some questions about it now that we have a more clear picture of the entire situation.
I don't think Sedgwick and Ray like that approach very much.
If they don't voice any objections at them in the moment.
All right, I'll cast Commune.
Okay.
Oh Lord Air, is this intrusion the last of the foreign bodies that were causing, what's the guy's name, Zachiel?
Zachiel.
Yeah, Zachiel's sickness. Have all been removed at this point.
I think I alternate between Zachiel and Zachiel, but... yes, that's the last of it.
Oh Lord Air, was this placed within our friend maliciously?
Yes.
Is the person still in the village?
Oh Lord Air, is the agent who placed this within Zachiel's body also malicious towards us?
Unknown.
And I will...
It's unknown whether you and Zachiel share an enemy.
I will share that information with the groom.
So, when Zachiel sees that Ekon is praying to his god to receive guidance in this situation, he rolls his eyes and has this look on his face. But when he receives the information that someone acted maliciously, he seems much more focused on the conversation.
Did you have any unusual guests in the days before you fell ill?
Victor's standing closest to the door. Zachiel looks up and speaks to Victor as though Victor is one of his servants.
He kind of dresses that way.
Is he still kind of dressed as the... Because he and Edmont dressed up like a peasant a few times to... No, he looks like Victor.
Edmont still looks... Edmont's still dressed very noblemanly.
Yeah, I think we're just decently now.
He inquires, or rather asserts that Victor should go downstairs, flag down one of the servants, and have Bendrick summoned.
You know what? Victor is curious enough to know who the hell Bendrick is that he'll say, sure, we'll go do it.
Victor,
Is this, Jeannie will think out loud, this right here, you said you ate, the last thing you remember is eating. This definitely could have been slipped into your food. It's not sharp.
So, Victor, you head downstairs.
Yeah, he's going to go find out who Bendrick is.
Yeah, the servant that Zachiel just sent from the room who was trying to feed him broth. Yeah, gives you a nod, says that he'll be found. Heads down to the base floor of the tower.
Victor will head back up when he's done.
Zachiel tells you that Bendrick was the last remaining man of a party that had traveled to Roduf from Castle Avernus almost more than a year past. And they were welcomed into the village. Zachiel confides that he thought this was his long-awaited reward for being a leal servant of King Aslan. He had carefully cataloged all of the magical devices that had been dragged up from the lake as he was instructed, taking only for himself what had been... he has this very similar contract with Aslan that it sounds like you all do.
So Aslan is the one asking you to dredge the lake for magical devices. And you have been passing items on to him or just cataloging them?
Zachiel says that as payment for this service, he is allowed to take one item in 10 at his discretion. And he takes nowhere near that many. There's far too much. It would take years to catalog all of it. But when the party from Castle Avernus arrived, They didn't bring any rewards. They didn't bring sacks of gold. They didn't bring anything at all, really. They just made some requests to go into the warehouse. The next day, the rest of the party left, having taken nothing from any of the warehouses or any of the piles, or even asking to see what Zackwiel had set aside for himself. Only Bendrick remained, a middle-aged man who is said to be one of Castle Avernus's finest cooks. And Zackwiel foolishly thought that, well, if nothing else, Aslan has gifted me with his world-class chef.
Jeannie is going to say in for Niskin, I think we need a little truth from this man. Not Zackwiel, but
I can do it.
Jeannie.
He hasn't fled the premises already.
Yeah.
Edmont moves to leave the room.
This discussion of this man, Bendrick, is more forthcoming than Zackwiel has ever been on any subject.
yeah.
And he is getting angrier and angrier just recounting it.
He thinks the man poisoned him, and he might be right.
Edmont is leaving to conduct his own maneuvers to try and find this Benoict man.
Bendrick.
Bendrick.
Jeannie is going to ask him, ask Zackwiel, it's like our discussions, like she's gonna tell him, and she says they all know about him, but they haven't really been. They know we were having them, but I haven't really told them about what we have talked about because we mostly just meet and play chess.
You
I
play
assume.
chess without me?
How do you think I've been able to beat you?
Zackwiel
He's
says,
good.
yeah, if you could call it playing.
I mean,
Evie's a
Jeannie's not very good at chess, like at all. Like,
Well, her pieces keep getting up and walking around the board on their own, healing each other.
Jeannie's playing Warhammer. Well,
Well, yeah, her idea of, well, the knight doesn't capture with the L shape. The knight should have a flamethrower. Then he could just defeat everyone.
but she's like, is there? He goes, when you get better, like if you feel like the next time you feel like you can do that, please, reach back out to me because there's some things I think we need to go over because I'm seeing some parallels in your situation and ours, and I don't think it bodes well for our future.
So, Edmont, you're taking your leave of the room to go try to hunt this man down on your own?
Yeah.
What actions are you
either I'll-
taking? What are you doing?
Can I get a physical description of the man first?
Yeah, one of the servants can describe him to you.
Okay. Yeah, Edmond was first. He's going to make a beeline for the exits of the town, which looks like there's only the one road, right?
There's only the one road coming up to the gate, but there's nothing really in the way of preventing somebody from just kind of sailing along the shore of the lake.
Yeah, Edmont is going to go about town to the various watchmen and see if anyone's seen him.
Okay, go ahead and give me an investigation check.
Sure.
At this point in the conversation, Jeannie, you're the first to kind of notice. As Zackwiel's anger is rising, he gets woozier and woozier until he loses composure and kind of collapses on top of, like, over onto his side on the bed. He puts his hand up to his head. Ray wheels forward. Says, that's enough interrogation for one day. We should let him rest.
20 on my investigation.
Okay. Then yeah, Edmont, going out in the village and spending some time. One of the watchmen who was standing post midday yesterday. So around the time you guys were surfing around inside Zackwiel's butt.
Yep.
Bendrick left through the front gate, driving a goat in a small wagon. This is something he's done hundreds and hundreds of times. He will go out into the fields and into the surrounding territories and forage and barter for ingredients and things.
Well, technically, that's my land he's foraging from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Zackwiel told you that
I'm
he wouldn't
going
do
to-
that and then is totally doing it.
I'm going to try and pick up his trail.
Okay. Give me a survival check. This is going to require you be alone on your own, probably until after nightfall.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
it's fine. 23.
23? You
Yep.
find the trail. I mean, it looks like he followed the road for a little while, and then turned off the road through where there are some fields. Not currently tilled. These are like old fields that have been laying fallow for years and years and years. Zack was not given permission, you'll recall, to work fields outside of his walls, nor did he seem particularly fond of the idea to do so. But yeah, partway into the field, you find 3 things that strike your interest. The first is the small empty goat cart. The second is a perfectly happy goat, still tied up to the cart, wearing the yoke, just chewing away. And the third, about 6 feet away from the goat in the cart, is a small, maybe 5 foot in diameter, what can only be described as a charred crater in the ground. This black circle that has completely scorched the earth, upturned the dirt.
Moving closer.
Okay.
Moving closer, looking inside the crater.
Yeah, it's just this 5 foot across hole in the world. It's not
No sign
very
of
deep,
an inch.
only an inch or so, but yeah, the soil here has been blasted and overturned, and the foliage here has been blackened and charred. But it's perfectly cold now. This must have happened some time ago.
Edmont takes the lead on the goat and starts walking the wagon back to town.
It follows you lazily. How are the rest of you spending the rest of your day after Zack being tended to?
Victor is gonna start talking to the castle staff and finding out what he can about this cook or chef or whoever.
Nobody particularly trusted Bendrick at first because he was sent from Castle Avernus. But he quickly won people over. He was an excellent chef. He always seemed to be able to find premium ingredients. They show you to his quarters. He had a small corner in one of the servants' rooms with his own bunk.
Did he leave anything in there?
No, nothing. When you go in, there's nothing left to find.
Did anybody else fall sick? Or was it just Zack?
Only Zack. And Bendrick had been there for months before that happened.
What changed?
And so Victor's basically just going to investigate this guy in the castle and around the town. So
I paused through the contents of the wagon.
There are no contents to the wagon. The wagon was empty.
Oh.
It looked as though Bendrick had left with the wagon, was planning on bringing it back laden down with goods.
So, from our perspective, does it seem like Zaquiel is a magic user, or does he just make devices?
If you had to put a class name on him, I would presume Zaquiel would be a wizard. But I mean, there's no way for you to know that for absolute certainty.
Okay, well, this doesn't seem like what Aslan would usually do with a magic user. We have been told he does something else when they have served their purpose.
If that was it, then I'm pretty sure Air would have said that they were also hostile to us, given that Aslan should probably be about equally willing to be hostile to us to consume us for our magic as Zaquiel. We're basically in the same situation.
The only reason that I could think that he would do this is that Zaquiel betrayed him in some way. He did something he wasn't supposed to do.
Or
I
he
also
found
think he'd be
exactly
more
what he
alert
was
if that were the case, to make an example of him.
Right. It could be somebody is trying to... It could be the opposite. They're not trying to punish Zaquiel, they're trying to punish Aslan. They're trying to get rid of... Aslan is carefully... And Jeannie kind of says, she says, I hesitate for us to speak about this out loud. Like, I really do. Like, I legitimately, like...
I don't know, it's Voldemort you can't speak about out loud. Aslan is fine.
It's not Aslan I want to speak. It's the situation around there.
Mm-hmm.
are surrounding our reason for being here and like what we figured out.
Mm-hmm.
So
Actually, maybe I can help with that.
Jeannie's just gonna shrug and keep talking, I think.
Okay.
For the speed of the session, she's gonna say, she goes, "What if?" So Aslan is carefully cultivating resources, right?
Uh-huh.
What if somebody is going around and trying to destroy those resources as to we've already met one party who his entire reason is just annoying Aslan, right?
Well, I suspect there's more to it than that. Although canonically, you are correct.
I mean, again, the only reason I'm not sure that that's actually involved is, again, Air would have known if they had the same intentions towards us. I would hope.
Well,
Strahd
like, if
seemed
it
to
was
like you guys just fine.
Well, yeah. Also, I would like to point out that Strahd very specifically said the entire reason he was giving us the information he did was specifically to annoy Aslan, and he thought it would be funny.
That's if you take him at his word, which you can do that, but I don't advise it. He also said that he would absolutely never allow us into Barovia again. So he absolutely sees us as maybe not dangerous, but definitely annoying.
Did he apologize for the gug?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I thought so.
He did apologize for the gug.
Strahd is a gentleman.
He was very polite.
Or you get gugged. Have some tea.
I mean, this doesn't seem like Aslan's MO. There's something going on here we don't realize. I don't think it's just Aslan decided you had no more use for him and decided to get rid of him. I don't think that's what he would do.
And Victor, after about an hour after you sent that servant out, returns with word that Bendrick left town yesterday afternoon. Usually he'll leave town and return in a day or two. This doesn't seem to be untoward at all. Doesn't seem like it's anything out of the ordinary.
Does the servant know where he normally goes when he leaves town?
He forages for ingredients. He goes up and down the river. He does a little bartering with some of the tradesmen, maybe the Vistani from time to time if they're passing through. Comes back with a wagon laden down with goods. There's never been any complaint because his cooking is excellent. So, and presumably this is what has happened this time as well.
I don't know. My brain is telling me that this was this might have been an attack on Aslan.
Why would Aslan care? This guy was. They looked at all the stuff and they basically seemed to determine it was just junk. There was nothing worth taking.
And it might be that Aslan was just like, okay, this didn't bear fruit. Time to clean up.
Cut bait.
This
yeah.
doesn't seem like the way he would do it.
How do we know he would do it?
Well, I guess we don't know for sure. We'd be taking Strahd's word for that, but
Like what did Strahd? I don't even remember what Strahd said. Like, he didn't say that he would, like. It's not like we were told that he would rain fire and brimstone down upon us.
no, he said he would lure us somewhere with promises of going home, and then we would just all disappear forever.
So Edmont returns late that night with tidings of what he found out in the field. And a goat.
I had a
You guys can keep the goat for all I care.
Yeah, we're taking the goat back to the village.
I had
It's outside the walls. It's mine now.
if I had any, if I had a more investigative mind, I might say that this man was destroyed.
Can you go into more detail?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you everything I found out there.
Is do you think there's benefit in one of the magical types going out there and investigating the crater?
Certainly.
Ekon, do you want to go out there with me?
Sure. I think that's
I'm going with you.
reasonable thing to do.
Like, the description of the spell actually brings to mind something like your flame strike spell to me, as opposed to something like a fireball, because you said it was a relatively small crater, like 5 feet across.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going out to investigate tonight, or we're waiting until the next morning?
I've got
Jeannie
a ton
would
of
go.
resources.
Jeannie would go tonight.
It sounds like the guy's dead, so it's not like the trail's going to get colder.
Okay.
Well, the longer we wait, it will. Magical residue fades.
Oh, okay. Good point.
Victor's gonna go tonight.
Victor's doing what tonight?
He's gonna go investigate tonight.
Okay. investigate
I'm
with
gonna
them
have
out
a
in the
picture.
field or investigate here in the tower?
Out in the field.
Okay, so everybody's going. It's a party.
I will stay in the tower, actually. Just in case something untoward happens.
Orson probably won't turn against you this time. Yeah, going out with magical eyes to check the crater. It's less than an hour from leaving the village gates to get to the point in the road where Edmont's found the goat trail leading out into the field. There's no sign of the man's body anywhere, which is what you would expect. If he had been flame striked, like, yeah, he'd be dead, but there would be charred remains here, bones, melted bits of clothing or residue of flesh, bits and pieces of hair and nails and things strewn throughout the field. There's nothing, none at all. However, the crater itself, you do determine a fading residue of conjuration magic from a very powerful spell.
You think he was teleported?
He may have been
Maybe.
a summoned creature.
Yeah, either of those could leave that residue.
I hesitate to say it was a summoned creature thing because the ground is upturned. It could be some kind of like a rune of teleportation. What's that spell? Can you cast that spell, Ekon? The one where you carve in the ground for every day for you can make a temporary one, but if you carve it every day for a year, it's
No, I
permanent?
can't do that.
It's
I think,
technically one of our house spells.
yeah, I think she can maybe do that. I can sanctify a place and then you have a utterance that will return us there eventually.
I could cast it if I had a scroll, but all of us could.
You need to
So
have
you
100
change
scrolls and do one every single day for a year.
Yeah,
That would
not
be
really practical.
that would be obscenely expensive.
But yeah, raking through the ash and turning over the stones here in the middle of the field, you don't see any rune work in the soil.
I mean, the rune fades, doesn't it?
It depends on what it's drawn or carved into, or what it's carved or drawn with.
Do you think we should
Is
take this place out in case our man does return and he wasn't destroyed?
That's a thought. And Jeannie's like kind of bouncing up and down in place, and Jeannie wants to basically start at the circle and kind of make a round. Jeannie wants to make her own investigation check to see if there is another approach that somebody came across. Like if somebody else approached from a different direction that's not us or not the cart.
Like, did somebody come and...
Yeah, it's gonna be a survival check.
Survival.
You can make
Okay.
this at advantage, assuming somebody is doing something to help you here at the
Can I
scene.
make the check?
Yes,
Anybody can
please.
make it. You can make it at advantage if you have health.
You might
Yeah.
want Orson to make it.
Well, I have.
Survival. He has
Oh,
survival.
you have to?
I
Okay.
do-
You'd also need dark vision to make this check because you guys went out there at night.
Yeah, and I can cast that. Looking at a 24.
There's any number of directions that somebody else could have approached from, but you don't see any evidence that anybody did. There's no overturned foliage. There's no footprints. Nothing of that nature. The only actual tracks that you find that could have been made in the past couple days are the wagon ruts, basically, and then the ones you made coming through the cereal.
Jeannie's like basically absorbing this information that Edmont's telling her, and she says it's like somebody flew in. Somebody could have flown in, and then she jumps, and then she immediately starts looking at the sky for.
There are footprints all across the sky. It's crazy.
Well, she's looking for crows.
uh,
It's too dark for that, I assume.
Yeah, too dark to see much of anything. I mean, you hear insects around, but any of these dragonflies could be a spy from Evelyn.
Well, just Zack very specifically said, "Don't trust crows."
We said don't trust ravens, I think.
Ravens, yeah. Oh yeah, ravens, yeah. Well, bird. Don't trust bird. Blackbird.
Are you saying all blackbirds are the same, Treble?
They're corvids.
What about a penguin? Can I trust a penguin?
No. Listen, you never corner a bird. You never trigger a flightless bird's fight or flightless response because they cannot fly.
That's a good point. I never thought of it quite like that. But yeah, you don't find any other approaches. You don't find any other tracks. It just looks like the man led his goat out here, and then something exploded in this nice spherical shape on the ground.
Conjuration magic. Is there, like, as a player, I don't have enough information about. I don't know enough about the spells in D&D to like even guess what this is. But I'm not even sure if Jeannie would either.
Well, make an Arcana check. There's not much
Yeah.
more information to be gleaned, but
Sure. What can a... That's like a 28 or something. 27.
the deal with the conjuration magic is that something or someone is pulled from one place and brought to another place without covering the intervening distance. That's functionally what conjuration is. So either that happened to bring something or someone to this spot, and then they left here without leaving any tracks for Edmont to find, or something or someone was taken from this spot to somewhere else.
Yeah.
Edmont roots around in his pouch, and then he pulls out pulls out a fingernail.
That's disgusting.
There's there's a warlock that we met that owes us a favor.
I don't know if we would necessarily want to burn that on this. Like, I was kind of hoping we could ask him if he knew a location of a portal to...
I don't know we're gonna find portals, but we can find another way we could be used for.
Anything else we're doing out here in the field?
So there's no sign of any body parts or people running away from the scene. Just a crater. That's it.
In fact, there's not any sign that people live near this field whatsoever. The field's lain fallow for how many years? You have no idea. It's good land. It's just Zack Wheel's doesn't have any interest in developing it, nor does he have the authority anymore because Evie cruelly told him he couldn't.
Actually, that was his idea.
I mean, he already wasn't working the place when you showed up the first time.
Yeah, so either somebody summoned this guy away, or he summoned himself away, or this is where he appeared initially. This would be a question of who did that.
Well, he's probably not coming back. The jig is up.
Yeah, well, if he found out that Zack Wheel is still alive, he probably went to escape, and then this happened.
And probably report it back to his master.
Yeah. Do we have any possessions of this guy?
Bendrick? No. I mean, he didn't own much to speak of to begin with, but the few, a change of clothes, one or two like personal items, some.
Did he have like a bed back in the village or anything like that?
He had essentially a cot in one of the servants' quarters in the tower.
You think
a room he shared with probably 3 or 4 other serving men.
Well, I could try casting scrying. Would be much easier if I had like a fingernail or something.
think maybe there's some hair or something on his bed?
It's possible.
We'll go check.
How badly do we want to find him?
Well, right now he's the only lead we have in finding out who did this. So
Check and see if he left any genetic material on his cot.
Go do CSI Lake Rodolph.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Uh,
So are there any Vistani staying in the town?
No. Zack Wheel wouldn't allow that. No, any trading done with the Vistani is done outside of the walls, which again is outside of his purview, but doesn't seem like he's been listening to Evie very much. All right, so we're going to try to cast Scrying.
Yeah.
If we can find some biological material.
Yeah, do we have a portable? Yeah, we have the folding scrying mirror we built.
Yep.
Okay, let me get my. I need to retrieve a book.
Yeah, I ask Jeannie for the mirror we've constructed together. She pulls it out. It is a very tall mirror, but it folds in 3 places so that it all fits inside the bag of holding.
It's like one of those mirrors. It's like a
with a detachable stand.
So what I'm picturing is like a 5 foot or so like tall like mirror that just like one of those
Yeah.
folding mirrors
Yeah.
that like folds closed like a book.
Yep. And then two stand you can take up. You can assemble after you take it out of the bag.
Just pull it out. There you go.
So he's going to get a +5 to this save because you've only heard of him.
Yep.
And I think that's it because you have a description of him, but you don't even have his likeness or a picture.
Wait, can I get my brother to draw a picture?
You can, but he's never met him, so he's
Okay.
only drawing from secondhand knowledge.
face-to-face.
So like we weren't able to find any lock of hair, bits of nail, or anything like that.
I'm not going to give you the scrying spell based on hair follicles.
I mean, that's okay.
It says lock of hair, but you don't find a lock of his hair. on
What
his
about
bed.
did he leave any clothes or possessions behind?
No, he took everything.
Okay.
Didn't have anything behind.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't own that much to begin with. He was just a serving man here in the tower. So what do I get? A wisdom saving throw?
Looking for, I believe, let me double check. Yeah, looking for 17.
Wisdom save +5. Let me make sure I know what happens on a pass and a fail here. Oh, this is interesting. If a target knows you're casting the spell, it can fail voluntarily. Yeah, this spell is just basically the police state, isn't it?
Ekon is the police state.
There's
Edmont is
no
the
Fifth
secret
Amendment in
police.
Silverbow.
Ekon.
Mm-hmm.
I have good news and bad news. Which do you want first?
Let's take the bad news first.
The bad news is make a horror check.
You got it. That's a unmodified D20, right?
Looking for an 11 or
Yep.
better.
You said there would be no horror checks in this adventure.
That adventure
Well,
ended.
The adventure's over.
That's a 10.
A 10.
Oh no, he sees the meat.
This is this is Ekon's third fail.
Oh, Smurf.
Ekon has already had reservations about people's meat sacks, and everyone is just made of meat. Ekon, the sensor materializes inside of a darkened stone room, lit only by moonlight streaming in through essentially an arrow slit high up in a wall, as though you're in a dungeon or a catacomb beneath a stone fortress. The man that was loosely described to you technically sits before you, or part of him, at least. Specifically, the outer part. It looks as though someone had taken their skin off, as though it were a cloak, leaving the ragged, empty eye holes, the toothless, slack jaw, and just folded it into a loose pile in front of you. Looking around this small room, you see a dozen, 100 such empty bags of flesh. All sorts of people, different sizes, different colors, different genders, all different hair and ages, and young and old, strong and infirm. And it dawns on you that you're just looking at the costumes worn by a particular creature who, in this moment, for this purpose, deigned to call itself Bendrick. So you
Oh, they're all
scry
folded over skin suits. Okay.
exactly like you would fold your cloaks.
Sugar in water.
The creature's not aware that you're scrying it, are you?
I think they get to make an Arcana check if they can see invisibility. Is that right?
He can't, though, so.
Yeah, the sensor's invisible.
You don't get a good sense of... Are you using dark vision at the moment?
Yeah, I would have put up I'm assuming
He
my
can-
brother would give me dark vision.
He can
before we
request
do
it if needed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting a look at the Bendrick itself, you see a 7-foot tall creature that looks more skeleton than man, just lashed together with bones and very, very tight fitting skin, so tight that you can see the crevices in between its rib cage. And the thing has too many joints on its extremities, too many elbows, too many knees bending the wrong way. And when it moves through the room, it does so with a disconcerting clicking and clacking sound as the hard parts of its nails or claws touch the stone floor. And it seems to be perusing, caring for, and cleaning these skin bags that it's able to wear. How much more of this scene would you like? How long does this last for?
A long time. I'll keep looking to try and figure out any like distinctive properties of the room or like the position of the moon or anything that might give me an idea of where this is.
Or maybe he'll pick another skin suit and put it on, and we can
Yeah.
identify him later.
Yeah, so Ekon will obviously be incredibly shaken and disturbed by this, but he'll continue concentrating on the spell and watching through the mirror in horror.
Okay. Let me... Real
I mean,
quick.
there's got to be some value to this. Yeah, right? Like,
Give me
Sugar.
half
and
a
water.
second. Let's resolve your horror check first.
Gonna be afraid to take a shower in case your skin washes off.
We're all made of meat.
Well, some people can take their meat off, and then underneath they're crazy skeleton insect monsters.
Oh, it's shit. It's chitin. I got you.
Something like that. I need to find...
I have no idea what that monster would even be. It's probably from the tome of Bull Smurf.
I have a page number written down for where I need to look up horror checks, because they're not in any of the 5e material. The 5e Ravenloft stuff is all Care Bear stuff, so...
Air bears are terrifying.
Are they?
Okay. Imagine you're sitting at home and a bunch of knee-high teddy bears come into your house.
Ekon.
Mm-hmm.
Roll me 2d4.
you got it. First D4 is a 2, and the second D4 is a 1.
Okay. Oh, that's a horrifying combination you've rolled there, my friend.
Oh no.
The good news is you don't drop the spell.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these results would have caused, not only would have caused the spell to drop, but probably would have made you unable to cast this spell again for fear that this might happen again. You've rolled Obsession and Fascination.
Oh no.
Looking at this creature wearing its skin suit, you can't drop the spell. You are obliged, when you cast this scrying spell, to ride it out for the entire duration. Which is how long?
5. Scrying lasts for 10 minutes. Not that bad.
Okay, so yeah, for the full 10 minutes. But 10 minutes is a long time as well. Like, how often do you use this spell? I forget. Have you used it before in this campaign?
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple times.
Yeah.
Ruby was using it a bunch.
We used it with the
So I built a scrying mirror in our estate before we got shunted out here.
Okay.
we used it a couple of times with the that bowl.
Yep.
That shows things as in their best possible way.
Their ideal state.
with interesting effects.
Ekon.
Yeah.
You are compelled to cast scrying as often as you possibly can to watch this creature. Once the spell runs out, if you have another spell slot, you have to cast it again.
Oh, hold on, let me look here. So that means that Ekon will be scrying for. Let's see, does it improve if I cast a higher level? No. So all the 5th and higher. So that's not so bad. Only 3 a day. It's only 2 more.
So yeah, you're spending half an and when the outside of that half hour that you're not watching in fascination as this creature maintains its flesh suits. It's hard to think about anything else. If you do not give into your fascination for whatever reason, you lose 1 point of either wisdom or charisma. Cumulative until this fascination has run its course. The last person to go through a level like a third hole, it was Jeannie, and it took her several weeks to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
So in the moment, nothing. It doesn't look like anything untoward is happening because Ekon casts the spell, and then at the end of 10 minutes, he comes out and says, "Oh, there's more to see," and casts it again. But the third time is a little troublesome. It looks like it might be a problem.
The hell is he seeing in there?
Are you describing to them what the creature looks like and what it's doing?
Yeah.
Okay. You're almost certainly looking at a room in or near, or probably underneath Castle Avernus. The creature either completed or failed its task here, was summoned back to the castle, and you're seeing it in its real form.
So did you just find Aslan's assassin?
One of his assassins.
I don't know. I might need a better look.
And he goes back in for a third casting. So more than 20 minutes have
And
gone
the entire
by.
time, Ekon is very meticulously narrating what he's seeing.
That's distressing.
Ugh.
Edmont, draw a picture.
No, please don't.
No, I don't want to do that.
So, like, this is a mirror. Like, we can all
Actually-
see this, can't we? Because it's displayed on the surface, isn't it?
I think only the person casting the spell can see it.
That's my read of the spell, I believe. Because you're using
No, Edmont.
you're using a
Edmont
magic
is trying-
you're using a magic scrying mirror, but you're not using it for its intended purpose. You're using it to cast the scrying spell. Yes.
Well, no, this is the way scrying is done under the rules in 5e. Like, unless you get like a magic item that specifically scries, like the mirror isn't magical; it's just very expensive.
Can everybody see what you're seeing in the mirror?
In the past, you said no, but I've always thought that yes, it does appear in the surface of the object, just because that's more fun from a role-playing perspective.
Yeah, I think that's your
But that's
fault.
up to you. Yeah.
Let's see.
Because Edmont is, regardless of whatever anyone else is saying, Edmont is sketching this out.
The spell doesn't actually specify who all can see inside of the device. I think it's more thematically interesting if all of you can see this creature, though.
Yeah, me too.
It's like,
Yeah,
you
so
guys have
yeah,
had your fill after a couple of minutes, and Ekon's going back for a third dip now.
Yeah, Edmont's pretty much done with his sketch by now, and he's like rolls his eyes. I don't know if that's he just seems to be prowling about. He's not doing anything at the moment, but it seems we have our culprit.
I wish
There's
we could.
definitely more information to be gained here, though.
I wish we
Ekon.
could
We
see
look
exactly
again.
who these skins are.
You know what's really funny is Jeannie also rolled obsession last time.
Yep.
She was obsessed with her own dead body.
Is it possible to identify any of these skin suits as other people we may have come across?
No, not really.
Yeah, it's like skin is just doesn't look like anything, and bone structure is important, right? So
Well, at the very least, we know what one of Aslan's agents might look like.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
no, we don't. That's the problem. He could look like anyone.
Exactly.
That's this creature's ability.
well, if there were some sort of identifying marks on those things that we could look for later, but
Well, that would defeat the purpose.
I'll make sure there's nothing we're missing.
He just fills
Brother,
up notebooks of observation like the guy in
You
7.
should rest.
Okay.
well, if he's in Castle Avernus, we can't get to him right now. I guess we could wait and see if he comes back, but I don't think that's likely.
No, they wouldn't try the same thing twice.
I think we should probably report either way to
Well, yeah,
Sedgwick
okay.
and Ray.
We're gonna have to get something out of Zachiel, because if Aslan is sending an assassin to kill him, Zachiel did something wrong, I think.
Yeah.
Or he's just
Or is a
This is-
failure.
this isn't
He
Yeah.
could have found something that was too powerful for him to know about.
It's
Well, they didn't-
possible, but they didn't look at that stuff.
they didn't take anything, or
They didn't
even
take
look.
anything.
I think the situation is just, well, this was a failure.
Cut bait.
Stops. Yeah, cut it off.
We could learn something else though.
Like
who knows who else this thing might attack.
I mean, that's not a bad idea, but you're just gonna watch him until he does something? He could be there for weeks.
I've got air. Air gives me a lot of the ability to see things. Air gives me this ability for this situation.
Well, here's the problem: is if you're actually scrying into Castle Avernus, Aslan is gonna notice eventually.
I'm sure it's fine.
I think it's a good idea to find out when this guy puts on a new suit, so we can maybe look for him.
So, Ekon, I would like to point out that Victor is agreeing with you.
Victor has good ideas sometimes. I've mentioned this before. Sometimes.
So it's you guys got back too late at night to take a long rest, but everybody can take the benefits of a short rest.
Okay. Well, then I won't have any more scryings for tomorrow.
The next day, Sedgwick and Ray will be taking their leave of the village, their work here being done. They have some servants meticulously packing up into their wagon the bits and pieces of the broken ship that performed admirably as far as they're concerned. Their plan now is to return back to their workshop and see if repairs upon it could be made and perhaps improved.
Jeannie will actually because Jeannie would say, I am a woodworker and a ship and like a certified shipbuilder. So she would give them notes on the design, the structures where the spots where it failed and could be.
Tell them about all the
reinforced.
problems with the
Jeannie,
hose.
go ahead and give me an intelligence plus carpenter's tools check.
Sure. That is a 18.
An 18. You start to try to give some advice on how better the barrel could have been constructed, but considering the environment that it was traveling through and the unpredictability at which the environment was moving around it.
Again, it's not. This is not like a critique. This is just like notes as somebody who was on the inside. This is just if you're going to rebuild this and maybe rebuild it in the future. Here's some weak spots I noticed, because Jeannie accepts the fact that this was done very quickly with this is our best stab at the dark at this. But she was inside and she's like, yeah, this is. So yeah, but that's what she. Again, this is not. I just want to be clear. This is not meant as any kind of criticism. This is just a professional, opinion.
Yeah, but you can't really think of much to offer in the way of improvements, except
just a
things
bad
like
design.
have more chairs.
Yeah.
Don't shove 6 people inside of it.
Yeah.
And while Ray appreciates the offer, he thinks there's far more important work for you to do than return to their workshop with them.
No, she wasn't offering. She just was giving them some quick notes, this is,
Testing.
yeah, we did the
We did the
Yeah,
beta
we did.
testing.
Yeah. This is we did our beta test. Here's our beta testing report.
Here's the bug report.
Okay.
She wrote up a bug report for them. It's
I don't think you guys fought any bugs. I thought they were all bats and snakes and things.
Yeah.
Worms. There were some worms.
Blood cells. Jeannie is going to ask them before she's going to ask them when they're planning on speaking to the Duke, and then she's going to ask to go with them so she can make introductions, because he's a prickly man.
Well, their goal right now is to return back to their workshop.
Right.
So it
she's
might
just
take
telling
some
them-
time. They're not sure.
Yeah. Yeah. She's just saying let her know is what she's saying.
There's-
Let her know.
Call us.
They have a
Call-
lot
call
of
me
pressing
when you go
concerns.
that way.
Their research drags them in a lot of directions, and even though you think the Duke is a very interesting person, probably low on their priority list.
I understand. Like they're
Also,
busy, yeah.
I don't think the game is designed for two like ready-made NPCs from different editions to meet in the same scene. I think everything would break, and we would all go to jail.
That's possible. Victor is going to ask Zackviel.
Well, before we
show
do Zackville, let's finish up with Sedgwick and Ray. Is there anything else anybody has for the two of them before they take their leave from the scene?
Can't think of anything now.
It's always a pleasure working with the lords and ladies of House Veritas.
Don't be a stranger.
Ray tips his hat, and the two of them take their leave of the village with the wreckage of the brown note in tow.
Did they just halt? Did they build that here? Did they bring it with them somehow?
You get the impression that they brought the pieces here and then constructed it inside of the tower. With
What
probably
other
the help
stuff
of
do
some of
they
the
build?
tower servants.
What other stuff do they carry around just in case they need to build a submarine to go inside someone's butt?
I mean, I carry stuff like that around, and I
I mean,
shake my
fair
bag
enough.
of holding.
She upends the bag of holding and everything falls out.
No,
Takes
because
a-
that would it would
Takes
take.
an hour to put back in.
Yeah.
It does because it takes an action to
Gene,
put a thing.
is your bag of holding shaped like a bagel?
Ooh,
No,
that's a good question. The next day,
Okay,
as you
it's
guys
a hamburger.
wake up from probably sleeping in a little bit, having a late night, did Ekon recharge any spell slots on the short rest that he has to use to scry?
No.
Okay. Zackville is in a stronger mood the following day as he's taken some food and he's able to get up and around with the help of a crutch. But he's in no less of a foul mood. He's still very angry about what has occurred. And summons specifically the Duchess to come speak with him.
I'll bring Genie.
Alone?
Well, anyone she wishes to bring.
Just
That's
Genie.
up to her. Just Genie, huh? Okay, so I guess the rest of you don't get to sit out the scene. He wants to know.
Invisibility last?
He makes a demand of Evie. What she intends to do about this Azalin problem.
Seems to me that you're the one with the problem.
Why? I've done everything that was asked of me and more.
Zachiel, I need you to be honest with me, and if I have to, I have magic that can enforce that. Did you do something to upset Azalin?
Genie, make me an insight check.
Sure. That is a 16.
As Evie puts that question to him, could tell that Zackville does not like the accusatory tone of voice.
Evie, let's take a step back for a
You're
second.
not in here.
She only brought Genie with her.
Oh, okay.
Genie will hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Be like Zackwiel is. She'll hesitate to say words, and she'll be like, she'll look at him and say, "Sorry, you're kind of an asshole," but I don't. He genuinely seems like I don't know. I feel like that's kind of like the relationship that they've kind of had over the like.
Mm-hmm.
Genie's like, I've been in there. It's all asshole all the way to the top.
But I don't. I don't get the sense that he did something knowingly, if he
Okay.
did anything at all. I'm willing to go to bat for him on this one. I think, and kind of step between Evie and him.
Okay. So Aslan has struck against you and chosen to be your enemy. Is that your understanding of the situation?
If Aslan is my enemy, surely he's yours as well.
I think we need to have a discussion about
Indeed.
what we have found out about what Aslan is using the people.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, but like this is a lot of the information is very sensitive
Extremely so.
to the
We
point
we
where
would have to swear you to secrecy.
it's sensitive to the point where if you know this, it would put you more in danger. So this is not information giving our relationship that we've had, like you know, our. I feel like Jeannie and him have kind of like a cordial, like casual friendship.
Your pen
Not,
pals.
yeah, pen pals kind of thing. Given the relationship that we have kind of had, like I don't feel that it's fair to give you this information without telling you that first.
Well, to be fair, Aslan's already trying to kill him for some reason.
Yeah, to
So
be fair, but like there's a difference between this is a very casual assassination attempt. There's a difference between this and blowing up his house.
Yeah.
Like the Wizard King getting angry and blowing up your house.
I feel like you would have to do something really, really, really bad to do that.
So, making note of some dark secret that you know about Aslan, he inquires as to whether the rest of your party is privy to this information as well. Is this enticing secret, something that you all carry?
You know what? Before we go any further, I think this may be a point where I need to bring out some of that lore I know.
Okay.